Great. Hello everyone. First I'd like to say just how exciting it is to be in a room of 2,000 of the world's best digital marketing minds under the sails of the Opera House. Pretty special. So first of all, as way of introduction, Drew, you and I, we've been working together for quite some time now. We first crossed paths in 2013 when together we implemented one of the largest digital transformation projects that Commonwealth Bank's ever undertaken. At the time, you were the GM of digital online banking at CBA, and you were the senior sponsor for that particular project. I was working at Adobe at the time, and I was tasked with ensuring that that project was a success. After we've delivered that, we've both since moved on. You became the global head of digital marketing and services at Xero, and I'm very proud to say one of my innovative clients at Accordance. Thank you for joining us today.
It's awesome to be here, and good to see a few people at the front, I know.
Very good. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about that journey. Really, we're going to talk about how any organisation can implement an effective optimisation and personalisation program, be it somebody the scale of a T10 bank like CBA, a true digital disruptor like Xero, or even a startup like perhaps some of the people in this room. So firstly, let's chat about that CBA digital transformation project for a little while. And it really was a monumental project, particularly for its time. We really re-platformed all of the major components of the CBA digital ecosystem onto Adobe Solutions, and one of the first to implement a world-class optimization and personalization program of its scale. And if we look at this screenshot here, this was the old Commonwealth Bank website. This was the original one in 2013. You can see around 180 links on that site. There was about 8 rotating banners, about 4 different navigational elements going on. It was, like many websites of its time, it was trying to be everything to everybody that came to visit the website, whilst all of the internal business stakeholders at CommBank were vying for that valuable real estate on the homepage. Now, if we fast forward, and I did purposefully pick the most cheesy, dramatic animation I could find in PowerPoint for that, we have the homepage that we implemented as part of this project. And you can see the whole design and the whole architecture of this site is designed to embrace personalisation at its core. And I really love this slide. I think it's a real chalk and cheese example of personalisation in action. But my first question, Drew, is how do you even kickstart a project like that?
Yeah. So I've got to refer back to the earlier presentation and say you do a business case, but it's possibly a bit more complicated than that. When we looked at it, at CommBank, we actually had the usual burning platform, and we had that in really 2 different areas. The first area was around customer satisfaction. So if you're a Commonwealth Bank customer years ago, it was a pretty average experience, and you can actually see how they moved to become number 1 in customer sat. So that was one burning platform. But the other one, which the product that we were using was out of support. So we're actually really lucky that we actually had a product out of support, or we were unlucky we had a product out of support, but it gave us a great opportunity to then find something that was going to be more fit for purpose. So that was the first bit, and then how do you figure out what the benefits are going to be? For us, it was pretty clear that we could sell stuff online. We'd done it for a number of years, and we just felt that we could be pretty bullish with some of the outcomes that we wanted to achieve. So we did that, put together a business case, and really pleased with the outcome.
Very good. And speaking of the products that were fit for purpose, behind the scenes here, we re-platformed commbank.com.au and actually netbank.com.au onto Adobe Experience Manager as the content management system, Adobe Target as the personalization optimization engine. We fed that with first, second, and third-party data via Adobe Audience Manager, and then we had Adobe Analytics underpinning everything for one unified set of reporting and insights. And at the time, 2013, that capability was very new. So next question, you've never been afraid to be an early adopter. Why take the risk like that on that sort of technology, particularly in an environment like an established bank?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Firstly, there's a big risk in doing nothing. It's easy to get smaller as opposed to grow. So for us, we absolutely wanted to push the boat out. So we just didn't want to do a like-for-like type migration, whether that's with Xero, whether that's with CommBank. It should be the same philosophy. You don't have to do like-for-like. You want to push the boat out. There was a lot of agile competitors coming out, and to me at that stage it wasn't going to be the ANZs and NABs of Westpac, although they're all awesome banks. But it's the Facebooks or the Googles or any of those other startups are actually coming to eat your lunch. So, you really had to sort of figure out what you were going to do, what you're going to be really good at, and really focus on that. So that's why we did actually, go for a much bigger bigger option than maybe just doing something small and modest.
Go big or go home.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was a very successful project, and I believe we've got a couple of results you can talk to and you can share.
Yeah. And for any CommBank people, this is actually on your website, so you can look it up later. It's also on the ASX. But what we've got here is some really good numbers. It just sort of talked about at the time. I'm going to talk about mobile a bit later on, but just sort of how there was that dramatic shift to mobile. So the first slide here just talks about when you actually give customers a great experience, whether that's something like a responsive experience, just about how much cut-through you get with your customers, what a better experience and what breakthrough sales you get. And I think if you look at it, when we switched over from to the new stack. Now, obviously, this isn't all related to that, but this is an important part of it. I think they went from 24 to 35% of sales went through a mobile phone. So I think that's really good. And it's funny because I actually presented at the Adobe conference at Hilton in 2013, we think it was, when we tried to think back.
Yeah, I think it was about that time.
Yeah, and we talked about mobile being a big deal then, and absolutely that kicked a lot of goals. So you can see just the lift in sales there. And then another slide that I think is really interesting is just talks about individual products and how they perform. And again, when you sort of put something there that is easy to use, easy to discover, it's really easy to get that. I saw someone take a photo. You can go to the website and get that as well. There's more behind that. But there's some really, really easy to get some really awesome numbers.
That's impressive results. Speak for themselves. But as with any project of that scale, let's be honest. It's hard, it's difficult, it's complicated. It's not going to happen without a bit of blood, sweat, and escalations. I was on one side of the fence, delivering some of those news that some of the granular requirements are going to be a bit tricky to deliver. Technology doesn't quite work the way that we want it to. How do you, on the other side of the fence, receive that sort of news, and what do you do?
Yeah. So it's not a new experience. It's something I've been through over a number of years with various vendors. But to me, it's really important that, when you think about it, both companies want to be successful, right? Whether it's a Commonwealth Bank or Xero, you actually want to be successful, and the vendor wants to be successful as well, because they know that if they can do a really good job for you in this place, then the next time you'll recommend them and they'll get some more business from you. So it's win-win. Now, there's a bit of detail that sort of, might get lost in translation when a salesman says one thing and we hear something else, and you have to recognise that what's said and what's heard can be two different things. So, my view, it's much better to getting 80% of something out the front door than 100% of nothing. And, it's no good sort of people sort of throwing rocks at each other, because at the end of the day, while you're doing that, your competitors are eating your lunch.
Very good. I like that. 80% of something is better than 100% nothing. It's very good. So you transformed CBA with the help of a few very smart people.
Yeah, actually, I didn't do it on my own. There was a lot of people who did it.
And then you moved on to Xero, which I really think of sort of the Uber of the accounting world. They're a true digital disruptor, disrupting the very traditional accounting practices. How do you approach that? How does a business that doesn't have perhaps the scale of a T10 bank implements something at scale like this?
Yeah, okay. And the one thing about this slide, what I love about it is I was there a couple of years, the numbers of customers just doubled. So it's been a fantastic growth story. And I think that's part of, the growth story is the opportunity, but the problem was the technology that we had in place. So in the same way at CommBank, we had a burning platform at Xero. So at Xero, we had these great global aspirations. They've got offices, or they've got presence in lots of different countries, but strong presence in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, the US, Asia, parts of Asia. And you can't do that with a bespoke website, right? You can't sit there and expect a dozen programs that we had at the time. Every time we wanted to make a change, to actually have to make that change. So our burning platform, in fact, was we actually just couldn't scale fast enough. So for us, we needed to figure out what that solution was going to be, and how we could do that on a global basis. And so, when I think about what did we do then, or what did we think about, there's probably about three different things. It was the product. You have a product that's going to work and fit for purpose. We went through an RFP for that. Do you have the right people in your team? And we're going to talk about this a bit later on, and how you get that sort of that blended team together. And then do you have the right partnerships? So who's going to help you on the journey? Because, there's people who've got full-time jobs. Trying to get them to build a new website or something is probably unachievable. So what are you going to do there to get things off the ground?
Yep, sure, makes sense. So you talked about people as being an important component, and I think we've got a picture here as well of some of the Xero team. Can you talk us through this picture?
Yeah. So I since got a couple of photos to use this, and there might be some people in the audience here, but I can't see them who might be on this. But essentially, this is a photo. This is our go live photo from putting in the Adobe platform. We moved about 80% of it over a 3-month period. So from when we signed a contract to when we went live, I think that took us 3 months, which is pretty awesome. And what we had maybe half a dozen people here in the picture, and they were in 3 different countries, in like 4 different cities. And then I actually got a photo back at the Commonwealth, and at the Commonwealth, it was like 10, well, it wasn't 10 times, but maybe it was 5 times the number of people in the same room. And what I realised at the time is that a lot of this technology is matured, and so you don't really need a lot of those people that you needed before to actually get some of this over the line. You can do it with a much smaller team.
Very good.
And then, what we've also got here is, we talk about some of the optimization stuff, right? When we look at it, what sort of people do you need? And I think I've got a list of half the people, and, whether it's that senior stakeholder who should be in the room, our developers, our designers. So, we've got a lot of in-house talent. So one thing that I think Xero does well is actually keep some talent inside. So, the agencies will hate me saying this, but keeping some of those design skills in-house is really important. We've got our optimisation manager, and then people like Accordant.
Very good. And any particular call-outs to anybody?
Well, hopefully, I don't know if they got in here, but Toddy should be in here. Stevie P, Amu, Meg. No, they're very shy. They're all looking for jobs, really.
A very, very good team at Xero. And so let's get under the hood and let's actually talk about some of the tactical things that we've done with Xero since we've started working together with Accordant and Xero. First thing we did was just run some really simplistic campaigns. We ran some simplistic A/B testing of some call to action optimization. Can you talk us through some of the results?
Yeah. I just want to make one point from the last slide. I think for us, the reason why we got people like Accordant in is that we knew we could do some stuff ourselves, but not fast enough. Mm-hmm. So, for us, it's actually how do we scale stuff really quick, learn really quick, and then roll it out on our global basis. Now, this is, I like this one because actually this is one of those ones that failed. So someone in the team had this absolute belief that Amazon Orange would win in every occasion. So he did an Amazon Orange test, so tested the colour and the words. And what we discovered is Amazon Orange is awesome if you're Amazon and you sell batteries and baby wipes. But it doesn't work for business software. So in fact, in this example, it didn't work. But it's, I think it's one of those learnings. So we can now put that one to bed forever.
It is. You learn what not to do by actually A/B
Yep.
testing. Yep. Great one. And so this next one, we're talking about partial trial abandonment. So what's going on here is somebody's come onto the website. They've started to complete a form for a free trial of the Xero software. And they've then bounced off. When they come back, we've started to surface messaging and the trial form to bring them back into that flow and get them going again. What were some of the results here?
Yeah, so I think one of the things you discover as you sort of stare into your analytics is that people don't go to your website, buy something and bugger off. They tend to sort of come back over and over. I'm thinking my example on the weekend when I bought a box of wine from Dan Murphy's. I must have gone to 10 other sites to check the price before I committed. And it's a bit like this. Customers come to our site and sort of say, I'm interested, but I'm halfway through, but I'm going to give up, and then come back again. And rather than give them the same experience every time, and how do you change the messaging to actually drag them in and to sort of get them, hey, it's only a few more steps till you've actually got the product. So for us, we give a product away that's free. So, why wouldn't you sign up? But then there's a free trial after that. So it's that balancing act and getting those customers committed.
Yeah, very good. Another example we have here. This is putting the free trial form on the mobile. And this is an interesting one. So existing homepage, just a lot of content, a lot of information, and we tried putting the application form on that homepage on the mobile device. Can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, so I sort of alluded to mobile before, and 4 or 5 years ago, I was a big believer in these responsive designs where you build it once and you smash it out there, and it's always the same regardless of where you are. I think that was good 4 or 5 years ago. What we've discovered is that mobile's actually used differently. So whether people are using in our situation, they might be using mobile to do some research, and then they might buy on their desktop. But we've also discovered that you need to bring some of those call to actions further up. Don't bury them in your content. So for us, or for me, my message on this one is think about what your mobile experience is going to be. People still use both devices, particularly in business to business. So how do you make them fit for purpose?
Yeah, something interesting about this one, you mentioned that some people use a mobile for research and then others will jump on and they will complete a form. I think we did see that in the segmentation when we were monitoring some of the results here, we'd see some differences as well in performance for different segments. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, with everything, you need to scratch below the surface and keep asking a couple more whys.
Exactly, yep. And so I think last one here. This was a USP affinity targeting piece. This was really interesting. So once we start to work out what is somebody's affinity, are they sort of pricing driven, or are they looking for a particular feature like invoicing, or are they interested in a particular feature of the application? Then we turn around and we start to surface more information that's aligned to that particular type of affinity. Can you tell us a bit about the results and the performance of this one?
Yeah, so I think people come to our sites in lots of different ways. They're either going to come via search, or they're going to come from a recommendation, or they're going to visit certain bits of content. So you really have to think about is what's their driving reason to be at our site? Are they looking for something to help them with invoicing? Are they looking for something to help them with accounts receivable? So whatever there is they're looking for, how do you actually then surface up that most relevant experience based on what they've done? And we find that this sort of really just kicks butt. If you're going to do one thing well, this is the sort of thing you really focus on and doing well.
Yeah, it's pretty clever stuff and very seamless, real time.
Yeah,
powerful.
Yeah.
And that brings us to what we're up to today. So can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so when you think about Xero as a platform, it's really a double-sided platform. On one side, we've got accountants and bookkeepers who go in there and manage the finances of their customers. On the other side, you've got small businesses who go in and use the product every single day. So they're using it every day, but then you've also got this group of people actually going to buy the product. So what we've been thinking about is how do you actually give a different experience based on what we know about you? What are those insights that we've got? And so we've broken up the experience. So, if we don't know anything about you, here's the default experience. But once we start getting those insights, we actually surface the relevant content up to you on this page prior to you going into the product to do your everyday accounting applications. And what we do is products like Deputy will bring that up to say, hey, looks like you might need some help with your timesheets or whatever, why don't you consider this? Or, why don't you try and do this training video because it's actually going to help. And what we find is it actually engages customers more. It gets them to do more cross, and also reduces a lot of your CX costs because what you're doing, or customer experience help desk costs, because what you're doing is you're surfacing content at the right time to those customers.
I think it's an interesting complementary strategy to the last one where we're doing sort of some micro segmentation based on affinities. This one's sort of a more macro, big homepage, big changes based on sort of the big segmentation.
Yeah, I love this stuff.
Yeah, very cool. So let's we'll wrap up, Drew. Thanks very much, for sharing your time and some of your experience from today. Thank you for being such an innovative, brave, and creative client, like many people in this room. It's really people like yourselves that put their money where their mouth is, and push vendors like Adobe and partners like us to make sure we're all doing better work tomorrow than we did today. So thanks very much.
Awesome, thank you.